And now, ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please welcome to the ice the members of the 2016 NCAA National Champions from the University of North Dakota.
Welcome back to the Has-Beens, presented by 10K Takes, brought to you always by the Chill Boys.
And you can go on www.chillboys.com, and listeners, you can type in HB15 to get 15% off your first order from the Chill Boys. Get your underwear, socks made out of bamboo.
And let's get into our weekend recap, brought to you by Beauty Status.
And like I said last week, guys, Beauty Status has those head covers for your driver, and they've got poles now for the golf course, as well as all the other stuff. They've got, stickers and flags for the man cave. Just very authentic stuff. They do a genuine job there with the Minnesota brand and in hockey all around.
What did we get up to on the weekend there, fellas? Ols, start us off.
Yeah, so Thursday we actually had a work happy hour. A couple of guys got promoted. So they're leaving our internal team. So we had a nice little happy hour over at the Yard House in West End there, Minneapolis, St. Louis Park. So I'm not gonna lie, I got pretty turned up on that Thursday. It made Friday's work shift a little stung, but then I kind of relaxed Friday, and then Saturday, bunch of buddies were in town. Cole Smith, Kawaguchi, Reegs, the pickle made it down into Minneapolis.
The pickle.
So, we met up on actually that was Thursday night. We met up with all those guys, and then took a day off Friday. Then Saturday I met up with Cole Smith, Dixon Bowen, Tyson Jost. All those guys were going to the concert at US Bank. Kenny Chesney. Unfortunately, I don't have deep enough pockets right now for that venture, so I kind of hung out with them in the afternoon there, and then shuffled them off to the concert, and I went home and had a little gummy and enjoyed myself. So
Ols, what do you think? What percentage do you think you're rolling at on Friday after a night like that on Thursday? You get to work. Like, what percentage are you rolling in at?
That's a great question. I mean, you make it look like you're doing 100%, but truthfully, you're probably giving off about 73%. Like, there's 27% of my body and my mind that wanted nothing to do with work on that Friday.
And you're probably rolling through the day at 70%, but that 70% is way harder than giving 100% on a normal day.
100%. It's like, I didn't know I'd have something come across my desk, and I didn't know if I wanted to chase it that day or whatever it might be, where a normal day it would just be something normal. I make the call or whatever it might be. So that was a great question.
I got the text from you guys on Thursday, and I was golfing at the time, and some things happened, but I wanted to make it out. I'm very thankful I didn't make it out.
Yeah.
It's one of those times where, like, you really want to at the time, but then the next day you're like, thank God.
You know what? You feel like a boner, like not accepting an invite or whatever. Like, oh, what are these guys going to think about me? Whatever it might be. I feel way better. When I don't do anything and I just sit back and relax and, take a night or two off.
Oh, yeah, you definitely feel better. You got any, so you've got plans this weekend? You said you're heading up to Chicago for a little something?
Yeah, so Shelby's sister, Alex, who actually played at North Dakota for the women's team a while back, her birthday's this weekend. So we were going to make it out to Chicago and do the whole spiel. And then she's actually friends with a guy that was on The Bachelorette or something. I don't think he was The Bachelor, but I think he was on The Bachelorette. Anyway, he's got this big-ass boat. They've got, 2 big boats. So we're going to go right out on the water there. Yeah, should be a really, really, really fun weekend. So, and it's been a minute since I've been to Chicago, so it'll be good to sightsee a little bit too.
Yeah, I'm jealous. The Windy City's always a good time.
For sure.
Well, I'm excited to hear about that. Mace, you get up to anything good on the weekend?
Well, I actually moved into my new place.
New pad, baby.
Mm-hmm. And shout out to Gage from Mini Movers for helping me do so.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love that, Gage. God,
great service. Great employee.
Got to check it out a little bit. Yeah.
But yeah, and then on Saturday, me and some buddies went out, checked out some of the bars around town, and yeah, it was a good weekend.
Yeah, what did you end up doing there, Mace? Did you end up going to any cool bars or anything?
So the first night we went to Up Down in Uptown.
Yeah. Nice.
And that was pretty fun. Got some pinball going, you know. And then on Saturday we went to Can Wonderland and tried to get the mini golf, but they had like too many people there, so I didn't have any spots. So we just
got a
went
nice
around and played some
track
more
there.
games. Yeah.
You got a nice track at Can Wonderland. You know,
where the hell is this?
It's like in a basement of a warehouse in Minneapolis, right? Somewhere northeast, maybe.
Yeah, it's like east on 94 a little bit.
What?
It's like halfway between St. Paul and Minneapolis.
Oh, I got.
They got a ton of. Oh yeah, they got a ton of like old, you know, arcade games, like as old as you can imagine. Like they're all there. It's pretty cool, and then their track for mini putt's pretty fun.
I love that.
It's
all
unreal,
in.
I've heard.
It's a good spot.
Yeah, Mace, let's get tuned up. Let's go there sometime.
Boozy milkshakes.
They have boozy milkshakes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my God. Speaking my language.
Mm-hmm.
It's always busy, though, because I think it's only a Thursday through Saturday or Sunday thing.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
But Uptown's another one. It's a good spot. You know, it's always nice to hop on the pinball machine. You know, try to collect a million or few points on there and fucking smash those buttons until you're out of balls. Connor Gordon used to have one of those pinball machines in his dad's basement. Whenever we'd visit him, we'd always just play pinball all the time. It's unreal.
He's a great man, that guy.
Yeah.
I love that.
And you know when I mentioned pinball, did you guys ever play that pinball game on your laptop or whatever, like those old computers?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the space one.
Yeah. He used to have such a high score on that game.
God, is that a blast from a past? Do you guys remember what were the video games you played on the computer? Like, I know like Penguin Club and all that shit was a thing, but what were the websites way back in the day, Gager? Do you remember those?
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching my brother play RuneScape all the time. Like he was addicted. Gosh, I'm trying to I mean, I used to always play like backyard baseball and soccer on my computer.
Oh, yeah.
With, Pablo Sanchez and those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The GOAT.
Yeah. Yeah. He might be the best athlete of all time.
Mm-hmm.
He was always like a 99 in every backyard game.
Yeah.
Homers every at-bat.
Oh, yeah.
That game was so addicting. Speaking of addicting, God.
Oh.
Spent hours on that thing.
Oh, easily. Just slide it into that disc slot in your at-home computer with the big, box underneath it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good shit. You can find some other stuff on those computers as well. Once I was in late middle school, but we won't go there. That's been deleted from history. All right, I'll get into my weekend. Started off Thursday, golfed a bit with some friends at Deer Run in Victoria. It's a good track. Go check it out, folks, if you're in the Minneapolis area. Affordable. It's just a little bit of a drive out there, but they do have that nice bar right next to it. It's called Floyd's. Good old-time bar there. Live music a lot of the times. So if you're out in that area, Chanhassen, Chaska, go check out Floyd's and Deer Run. Good spots.
This might not be confirmed, but I heard rumors that it was a swinger bar. Really, really nice touch there. Glad you touched base with the people there just to check in.
Just to see what the swingers are up to, it's always nice to see what they're, who their prey is for the night, which couple they're looking at. It'd be kind of fun to go there with like a fake girlfriend and just be like, yeah, what are you guys thinking?
Oh, that would be all time.
It's so good.
Just look up the most absurd shit online that couples do to each other and just be like, oh, we're more into this.
Yeah.
Conversation going. Oh.
You know what I've heard that gives it away? Swingers wear pineapple shirts. They've got shirts with like pineapples on them.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's, it might be a rumor, but that's what I've heard. So now whenever I see a guy wearing a pineapple shirt, wherever I am, restaurant, store, I'm just like, that fucking guy's swinging. He's a swinger. Guy's probably just wearing a pineapple shirt because he likes pineapple juice or something. I think he's a swinger. But then Friday, I ended up moving Mace, and then I met a couple guys at Gray's for a drink downtown, and then we walked over to Acme Comedy. So I'm a frequent flyer at Acme Comedy there. It's just like, it's in the North Loop. It's a comedy club. They keep it pretty simple. It's cheap tickets, drinks. They serve you drinks as you're watching the show. It's really a good setup in there. It's unbelievable. I go there all the time. But this particular one, I ended up bringing my girlfriend and her friend and with us. And I'm like, it's their first time. I'm like, no, like this place is great. Like you guys can have a good time. They both ended up sleeping mid-show. Like they're just fucking passed out in their seats sleeping. I thought we were going to get booted because they were sleeping. But rightfully so. Like it was terrible. It was so funny because this lady named Linda gets up there. She's like 65, 70 years old. She gets up and she stands up there for like 30 minutes and she doesn't say a single joke where anyone laughs. So she's up there for 30 minutes, just like everyone's like, she'd say a joke and it'd just be like, oh. By the end of it, we're looking across like she'd say a joke. We're like, is she serious? I mean, close to funny.
My brother would have died. My brother would have died. He's one of those guys where an awkward situation comes in like a movie and he'll put a blanket over his head. Like with how awkward it is, I can't imagine if he was there with you.
I mean, if I'd have been dead sober, I wouldn't have been able to handle it. I probably would have just walked out or something. But I was, a little buzz going. I was like, this is so funny. Like, and then we start talking. Who told this Linda lady that she was funny and she should get on stage at a comedy show? Like, I'm sure it's her friends. She's sitting around the bonfire having a couple cocktails, like on a Friday night, and she's saying a couple jokes, and her friends are like, "Oh my gosh, Linda, you're hilarious. You should get up there." And it's like, no, you shouldn't. You should really stay home. You don't need this in your life. Like, and I know I was just thinking like her friends convince her to get up there and they all come to the show and she's just bombing there in the background. Like, we knew this happened. No, but I felt bad for her. But, and then after that, we had a little golf round planned for Saturday and it obviously rained all fucking day. So ended up just driving up north and having myself a chill weekend after that, which is always nice, I've actually found myself having a few more of those more frequently, and I'm not complaining. It's been nice because there was a while there I had strung together a few weekends in a row where it's like, okay, need some relaxation here.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of a tangent I'm going to go on, but then I was thinking, I was talking with people and I was like, gosh, how nice would it be, if, like happiness or like relaxation just came in a little bottle and you just had to drink it all and then all of a sudden you're relaxed, This fucking, I haven't relaxed in a while. Just fucking chug a bottle and you're just, all right, there it is. I'm ready to get back after it. I got my relaxation in. I paid big bucks for that stuff, man.
That's a gazillion-dollar idea you just came up with. Good luck trying to figure it out, but I wish you the best.
Yeah. It's probably a simple mix of maybe Xanax and inside some warm water, and then you just drink it and bam, relaxed. But yeah, those are my weekend plans. I do have a Lumineers concert this Friday, which I'm looking forward to. I've heard they're incredible in in concert live. So really looking forward to that one. And then after that, we'll see where the weekend takes me.
Love it.
But let's get into the fun stuff here, brought to you by Butter Golf. And just to update you guys on Jordo's life, he's overseas right now in Switzerland running Butter Golf, all the while being an overseas hockey player. So our best wishes to him, but still check out their stuff on Instagram and on the website there, butter.golf. Got some good stuff. Obviously, Olson wearing the hat right now. Mace wearing the grass-fed backwards. Love that. So check that out. We get in the fun stuff here. First one off, nail gun of the week. Does anyone want to start us off? I've got one. Actually, you know what? Throughout the week, I'll see stuff on Twitter and I'll see things and I'm like, that's the fucking nail gun of the week. And I'll forget to write it down and then I'll try to remember and I can't fucking remember. It's like having a dream, in the middle of the night, you have this crazy dream and you wake up and you're like, oh, I can't wait to tell people about this crazy ass dream. And then you fall back asleep and then you wake up again and you're like, God damn it, I can't remember that dream. It's terrible.
I can't. I don't dream. I've dreamt like 4 times in my life that I remember.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't know if it's just a terrible memory or what, but anyway, continue.
Oh, the amount of fucking dreams I've had where I couldn't put my gear on in time for the start of the hockey game. And I wake up sweating like, oh my God, holy fuck, it's fake. I'm going to make it to the game on time. I used to have fucking one of those every weekend, man. I was terrible. Okay, I'll get into mine now. Enough for the tangents. So, saw on Twitter, this is from a while back, but I just saw it resurface. This New England Patriots football player was late for a team meeting. He was going to be late. So he purposely crashed his car into another car just so he wouldn't get cut.
I saw that.
So his mindset was like, yeah, I'll just deal with the insurance agency. It's much better than showing up late for a Patriots team meeting.
Just bulldozes the guy.
Oh, yeah, I felt that. I was thinking, like, if I was in that scenario and I was on Hackstall's team, I would probably do the same thing.
I can think of many times in my life where I was running late for a meeting that never crossed my mind, but I wish it would have because it's so smart.
Oh, yeah, sorry, always car accident.
Yeah. Or just rip it down the highway, go 100. Oh, sorry, guys.
Get pulled over. See a cop, you're speeding up, like honking. That was my nail gun of the week. Do you guys have anything, or should we move on to the next one?
Mace, you got one?
Yeah, I got one. I'm going with the Minnesota Twins manager, Rocco. There's a bad call at the end of, I think it was yesterday's game, maybe, or 2 days ago. And he just was absolutely firing away at the ump. Like, he was just letting it fly.
I loved it. I watched that game. He was fired up. I love when a gets fired up. So
it's the best. I love when the manager just his sole reason for going out there is getting kicked out. Like, he's not leaving until he's booted.
Yeah,
you gotta love that.
It was a terrible call too.
Awful
Brutal.
call. I'm not a huge MLB guy or whatever, but that play was terrible.
It was bad.
I couldn't believe that he was called out or called safe.
I couldn't believe that either. I don't know the rule. It's similar to that. It really reminds me of the goalie interference rule in hockey where no one knows what the fuck's going on. It's kind of just, a guess every time. And you're like, well, here's last time it was okay. And this time it's not. It's like the same thing.
Yeah. And I feel like baseball isn't really confrontational. So when that's the most exciting part, when a manager gets heated up and just buzzes down the ump. Oh God, I love it. Fires me the hell up.
Oh, yeah.
My nail gun of the week. I don't know if we've touched base again. I have a terrible memory, but I saw a video of Billy Guerin resurface, just absolutely teabagging some guy in a fight. And actually, I think it was Keener. I think it was Keener's dad.
It was.
And it was just a meatball fight. They were just absolutely throwing haymakers. Am I wrong? I think it was Billy Guerin and Keener.
It was, and they're just both teeing off on each other.
They were no reload, no nothing. It was just
just until you can't throw anymore.
like Rock'em Sock'em, fucking that old.
Yeah, you're pressing the buttons until one guy's head goes up.
Yeah, that was literally what it was like.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if that was brought up last week or not, but I wanted to bring it up again because
it wasn't.
I watched that fight. It was hilarious.
I'm also gonna end it off with an honorable mention. I'm gonna shout out Linda one more time, the 65-year-old who got up on the stage, because you know what? To get up on stage when you're trying to be a comic or a comedian, that takes some fucking nuts.
Absolutely.
You know? And especially as a 65-year-old woman. Like, she got up there and she stuck with it, and she wasn't getting laughs, and she just stayed the course, kept telling these fucking terrible jokes. And you know what? That's some nail gun attitude right there.
Good for her. Good for
I'll
her.
shout her out. I do respect her for that 100%. I don't like her jokes. That's all right, but I do respect her for doing that. Let's move on to the next one here. Fuck one, marry one, kill one, or bury one, whatever you prefer. The first one we're going to do is June, July, and August. Does anyone want to start us off here?
Yeah, I'll start real quick here. I think mine stays right in that order right there. I'm going to fuck June because it's like, okay, the hot weather's here. And I view fuck as like a good thing. Like, we're going to have sensual relations, consent involved. And then I'm gonna marry July because it's like the best month of Minnesota. You get the best weather. You've got July 4th. You've got cabin weekends, and then I'm gonna kill August because fall is coming, and that means snow and cold weather. So I'm gonna stay right in that order: June, July, August.
I like that choice. I can't really argue with. I mean, to be honest, this is a tough one because obviously all 3 months are up there with the best months of the year for me. I'm gonna fuck July. July is sexy, baby. It's it's good shit. I'm gonna kill June just because I feel like it rains a lot in June, and there's a lot of weddings, and I don't really like weddings. Like, it's just an obligation that I have to go to, where I'd rather just, maybe have a night planned with friends and then golf instead of like, oh, I gotta find a fucking outfit to wear this wedding, and then I gotta stop and chat with, buddy's uncle that I don't know, and he's gonna ask what I do for work, and I don't give a shit. And then I'm gonna marry August just because I think the weather in August is my favorite. It starts getting a little cooler. It's not too hot. Like July, June, you get some 100-degree days, and you're like, all right, this is enough. And then I do feel in August there's a little less mosquitoes, and you got football, right around the corner. So it's a really horny month for me. Waiting on the football Sundays and Saturdays coming. That's it's very exciting. So that's going to be my order there, Mace. What do you got?
All right. I'm going to marry June because my birthday is in June, so I want that long term,
Like that.
I'm going to fuck July, July 4th, great time, great weather. And then I'm going to kill August, but I still like August a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't hate it too much, but
Yeah.
It's
just not January.
Out of the 3, I'll kill that one.
Yeah.
I respect it.
All right, we'll move on to the next one here. It's another fuck one, marry one, kill one. High school, college, or the first 4 years after college?
Okay, I think I'm doing the same thing. I think I'm going to keep it in order. I'm going to fuck high school just because I was nasty back in the day. So that time of my life was a great great time hockey wise. College, I'm going to marry just because of all the fun times we had. Obviously, hockey was a bonus, but just all the experiences and everything of college. And then I am going to murder the first 4 years out of college. It's not that I didn't enjoy my time or anything. It's just, like I said, high school, I was nasty. College was fun. And then, Orlando was great, but then I had to find work and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
I had to grow up, and I don't like that. So I'm going to kill it.
Yeah. It's tough to argue with your order there. I was thinking about going the same, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm obviously going to marry college just because that's an obvious one. There's college, nothing better. I'm going to kill high school just because it was kind of a stressful. I was moving around a lot. Didn't know, trying to be good enough to make it to college or juniors or whatever. It's kind of a stressful time in hockey terms for me. And then I'm just going to fuck the first 4 years after college just because I wasn't so much worried about hockey. So I had that mental part released from my life, which is great. But it definitely wasn't good enough to marry because, like you said, you got to grow up, get a real job. It's not just when you're a hockey player, you're working pretty much from, 8 a.m. till noon. And then after that, you're, obviously you're working on the body and stuff, but it's not the same. Not even nowhere near the same. So I did have a lot of fun being out of college, a little less stressful in that sense, but it's pretty obvious the marry one is college for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Mace, what do you got?
All right. Obviously, I'm going to marry college. I love my time up at Nodak, so got to marry it. I'm going to fuck the first 4 years after college because got a job, got money now, and just good times with my friends, and I don't have to worry about school. And then kill high school. I mean, it was fun, but out of those three, it was my least favorite.
Respect.
Yeah, I'm surprised Olson didn't marry high school because those were, his kind of that was when he was on top of the world, just fucking big dick swinging in the wind.
Yeah, I was so nasty back then. Oh, little state high school hockey tourney. Oh, good to have me.
Yeah, mine would have been. If I was in your scenario, I probably would have chose the same stuff for sure. I didn't have as good of a high school experience as you did. That's for sure.
Yeah. We all stayed and we enjoyed it, so figured I'd give it a shout out.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do one more here. These next three are Sunday at noon, Friday at 7 p.m., Saturday at 5 p.m.
I'm going to go. I'm gonna fuck Friday at 7 p.m. That's just made it through work. It's kind of go time. Gonna make my way to a tavern or a pub, get my night started. I'm going to marry Saturday at 5 p.m. So many things can happen as soon as that clock hits 5 p.m. And then I'm going to absolutely kill Sunday at noon. And this is tough for me because I'm a huge football advocate, huge fantasy football guy, love betting the games a little bit here and there. But I think just the week coming to an end and then we just got to reload and do it all over again, I'm gonna kill Sunday at noon.
Yeah, I can't argue with yours. Mine's going to be a little different. I am going to fuck Friday at 7 p.m. for sure. There's nothing like those vibes, getting out of the work week, whole weekend ahead of you. Those are good vibes, all right, what are we doing? What's the plan? Where are we going? What are we doing? Maybe you have full weekend plans too. It's even fun when you got full weekend plans and the Friday ends. And it's also just as good when you have no plans. You're figuring it out right at 7 p.m. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I am going to kill Saturday at 5 p.m.
Knew that was coming.
And I'm going to marry Sunday at noon. Just vegging on the couch, watching football, Could be golf in the summer. It's just a great feeling. Sitting on the couch, you've got, you've got no plans, or either like Sunday at noon, you could be golfing too. So there's that option. You've got no plans to go out there and floor it or anything. So you don't have that stress, weighing on your shoulders. Like, all right, do I got to saddle up again here tonight? No, you're just on the couch for good. Yeah. It's a great feeling. And that's going to be my list there.
I love it. Mace?
All right. My list might be a little bit controversial. I'm going to fuck Sunday at noon. I like relaxing, get the whole day off, football, of course, and then I'm going to marry Saturday because just like Sunday, you got the full day off, you don't have work at all, but you can still go out at night. And then I'm going to kill Friday just because you have to work during the day still. You don't have the full day to do whatever you want.
It makes a point.
Yeah, that is a great point. That's such a valid point. Well done, Mace.
I was more so thinking on the exciting side. I wasn't even thinking about work.
Yeah.
It's like, it's over. But yeah, now that Mace brings up work, I had already forgotten that I worked because it's 7 p.m. I'm like, did I even work today? I don't fucking remember.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
But it is valid. It is valid on your side as well, Mace. It's a very good point. Thinking back, I'd probably kill Friday and fuck Sunday at noon.
Yeah.
But no going back.
You might have won that one.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to a newer segment here. We've had this idea before. We'll test run it now. We're gonna do a prank phone call to someone. I have someone in mind. I hope she answers. It's gonna be my mother, and I'm gonna tell her I just got pulled over with a ton of drugs in my trunk. So let's see what she says.
I love this.
Tell me if you can hear it ringing.
Yep.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
I'm biking with Bonnie.
Okay, well, I've got to share something with you. I just got pulled over, and there's something in my car that I wasn't aware of. I just need your help or Dad's help.
You did not get in trouble with the law.
Well,
Ausmus.
I need to call a lawyer, I think.
Oh my gosh, I don't know who to call, honey. What was it? Was it marijuana?
I can't keep it going. You're on the podcast right now, and I was prank calling you. So.
Oh my gosh, you are so mean. You have no idea. I was going through all my years to call us friends. Oh my gosh.
I'm so sorry. You were
the meanest thing people have done to me.
I'm so sorry. That was
so mean.
That was a good bit, though. The listeners are going to enjoy that one.
It's not a great prank.
I was actually hesitating calling you with that because what happens when it actually happens. You're not going to believe me now.
I was just literally going through the brain on what lawyers do I know that could help you. Oh my gosh, you're so freaking mean. You are so freaking mean. I want to puke.
I'm sorry. Well, I'll let you get back to your bike ride. Well done.
I'm sure it's going to be a great rest of my bike ride now.
Well, yeah.
You little shit.
It's exciting news that I'm not in trouble. I'm just doing a podcast.
And you know what's so bad is I believe that you'd be that dumb.
Oh, let's cut that part out, Mace.
Yeah.
All right, let me.
Hi, Mama Bear. Miss ya.
Well, that went well. I think
that was all time. I'm
that
so
was awesome.
I'm so sorry I ruined it. Because I know my mom's reaction would be exactly the same.
Oh, I felt bad doing it. She completely bought it.
Oh no! Oh, she's a good sport. That's awesome.
She's a good sport. She's a good sport. We'll have to run that back again as a segment, maybe with the guest we have on. But yeah, we did have an interesting guest on. One of my teammates from Ann Arbor, played at Boston College, now plays for the St. Louis Blues in that organization. He's played for the Devils, the Predators. Just a really good hockey player, really good guy. Hope you enjoy his interview. He shares some valuable insight on being a father and playing hockey at the same time and growing up in New York City, where his dad started a rink. So now we'd like to welcome on Steven Santini.
All right. So, Steven, thanks for coming on, man. We appreciate having you on here. And all the way, where are you living right now, by the way?
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm excited to be here. I'm actually in Connecticut. Me and my wife bought a house here pretty much at the start of the pandemic, and we outgrew mom and dad's house. So it's nice to have our own space. And it's kind of where we grew up, just on the Connecticut side of New York and close to where I train this summer. So we like it, and it's been a nice little home for us.
Yeah, that's got to be nice for the parents as well to get to. They probably don't want those young kids running around. They're probably happy to have them visit, but living there full time would be a little much for the grandparents, eh?
Yeah, I think after my daughter was born in February, my wife, my son, and my daughter were living at my in-laws for a little bit, and the house gets crowded when it goes from 2 people to 5 real quick. So I think they enjoy helping out, but at the same time, they get to play golf now and go for walks and sleep in the morning. So it comes with the pros and cons for sure.
For sure. Well, Steven, we'll start off with kind of, you're growing up in Bronxville, New York. Kind of tell us about that, because most of our listeners, they're obviously from the Midwest, and we've had a couple guys who played hockey out east, but you're kind of the first one that has grown up out there, and it's just a little different culture a bit, but kind of tell us how you grew up and how'd you start playing hockey out east?
Yeah, obviously a little different out here from the Nodak mini guys you normally have on. I was born in Bronxville. That's kind of what the hockey DB and everything says, but I grew up in Mayapack, which is kind of northern Westchester area, and my dad actually owned a rink up there. That's where I grew up playing, and that was just kind of my first memories. I would just go to the rink with him all day, and I'd play and practice, and I'd go there after school. I'd go there on snow days. And hockey may not be as popular as it is out, in Minnesota and North Dakota. There's obviously, you guys have town teams. We have AAA teams here. Guys drive an hour for practice on your AAA teams and stuff, which is, I know, wild for you guys. But yeah, it was good. We had a good youth hockey team, our 95 Express team. Most of the guys either played college or junior somewhere. So it was fun, and I had a good time with it.
Who were kind
How
of
does your
who were kind of the big
Go ahead, Olson.
So that 95 team, we had John Hayden, obviously Goose, we had Adam Ernie, we had Tony D'Angelo, we had a guy named Kenny Citron that played at Colgate, we had a guy named Chad Malinowski who played at Wesley in D3, John Biacco played at Yale. I'm probably forgetting a bunch of names. Zach Diamantoni played at Northern Michigan or Michigan Tech. Alex Talcott played at Michigan. I'm probably missing some guys, but that just gives you an idea. Like, we were kind of a loaded team, and it was good for us to have a good team at a young age, because the practices and the games and everything really pushed us. So I was fortunate to be a part of that team for sure.
Who are you guys kind of battling with when you were that age? Was it like you're playing against Honey Baked, obviously Shattuck, those teams? Like, who was kind of your rival growing up there?
Yeah, so we would obviously have to travel. You do like your 5 or 6 big tournaments. You'd go to Toronto Marlies tournament, the Nike Bauer in Chicago, the Silver Sticks. So it was really us. LA Selects were a big team that Scotty was on, actually. They had Brian Williams. Comrie was their goalie. So they had a good team. It was Detroit Honey Big. All the Detroit teams were always good. South Shore Kings in Boston were kind of a wagon. So we had like 5 or 6 teams that we would just travel around, and that was kind of our youth hockey experience, as crazy as it seems.
Yeah. So how does your dad go about buying a rink and then making that his life? Like, how did he fall into that? And obviously, that's how you ended up in hockey, but how does your dad get there?
Yeah, so it's he played growing up in Yonkers and in the city. So hockey wasn't really popular on here. There was a guy named Joey Mullen, who I think played at BC and then maybe for the Rangers. He kind of helped hockey grow in the area. And my dad just fell in love with it. He was a big baseball player. He ended up playing at the University of Maine. And then when he left, I think he worked a couple other jobs. He might have worked real estate for a little bit. And then him and my grandpa ended up managing a rink that was owned by the town in Long Beach, New York, on Long Island. So he would commute from Westchester to Long Island, which is, over an hour probably one way. And I think one day he just got sick of it and was like, that's it. I'm putting all my chips in and I'm building my own rink up here. So he obviously entrepreneur story, took out the loan, built one rink, had success, grew hockey in the area, built a second rink, and now he's got 3.5 sheets. So he's kind of built the youth hockey and the arenas around this area for sure. And yeah, I don't think that was his plan all along, but here we are 30 years later and he's still doing it. So it's a pretty cool story, I think.
Well, Steven, it wasn't in my plans either to be a mover the rest of my life, but sometimes, shit happens and you end up in a spot where you didn't see yourself, but it's okay. Sometimes that's what you're meant to do. So that's a pretty cool story. I mean, what else, like, how do you build a hockey rink? Like, did he add other like concessions or like shooting areas to this spot? Like, how does he make those decisions?
Yeah, so like I said, hockey at that time was not really popular in this area. So he was kind of the premier, I guess you would say, facility. And it was literally just one ice rink. It was just a sheet of ice with like bleachers and like 4 locker rooms and an office. And then as he had success, he built like a snack bar. Then he built the second sheet with a pro shop. Then he built the third floor, which was like, a mini rink and a restaurant and a bar and a banquet room. Now he has an outdoor rink that opens in the winter. So like I said, I don't think that was his plan all along, but he just kept having success and the demand was there. So I give him a lot of credit. He worked hard and, growing up, I saw him at the rink. He was there 7 a.m. till 9 or 10 at night every night. And he worked really hard and he had a lot of success as a result. I just kind of saw that. And that was kind of my role model, I guess, growing up.
That's like real life Sims, like like our Clash of Clans. You're building your own city and all that shit. So.
It's basically what it was.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So, Steven, obviously, we know each other from playing at the program together in Ann Arbor. I think if my memory serves me correct here, you were one of the guys who was committed to play for the team even before the 40 camp started. Am I right there? So
you are
obviously
you are correct.
So you were like a pretty big talent growing up. Like, at what age did you realize that, I've got some skills in this hockey thing and this is kind of what I'm going to do with my life? Like, when did you realize that? And then, was it at a young age where like, I want to play hockey the rest of my life, or you just kind of noticed at one point, like, holy shit, I'm pretty good at this thing. So people are talking to me. So I guess this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit of both. Kind of what you're saying, like it's what you envision, but you also like have a point where it goes from like a fantasy to like, okay, I could kind of make this work. I guess as early as I could remember, I was either going to be the catcher for the New York Yankees or a defenseman for the New York Rangers. Like, I was so committed to my sports. And obviously I was a much better hockey player. I love baseball. I still love baseball, but I was a much better hockey player. And once you get to like peewees and you kind of go to bantams and you kind of become an elite player, and then like the program starts to kind of to get your attention. And that was, colleges are talking to you. That was kind of the first time I was 13 or 14. I know it's crazy these young kids get recruited, but that was the first time I was like, all right, like I'm fully going to commit to this and nothing is going to stop me. That was just kind of my mindset when I was probably really 12 or 13. I was like, I'm going to go to the program. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go to the NHL, win a Stanley Cup. And that was just that's been my plan since I was 12 or 13. And Here I am,
Yeah.
man. I'm still living the dream to this day.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I also wanted to touch on, so Ols doesn't know you personally much, but you're like one of the nicest, like soft-spoken guys off the ice. And when you start playing the game, you're one of the meanest cocksuckers on the ice, just blowing guys up, playing hard. Like, how do you make that transition from being this, one of the nicest guys on earth off the ice, and then you just flip a switch and you're just animal on the ice that no one wants to be on the ice with?
Well, first of all, thank you for both of those. I guess honestly, growing up, that was just kind of what my dad taught me. Like, he was always my coach, and since he played sports, he always was just kind of giving me his input, and he always taught me at a young age, when you play any sport, whether it's hockey, baseball, football, you can be the meanest, baddest, mother effer out there and say and do whatever you want. But the second the whistle blows, you shake their hand, you be a choir boy the rest of the day. And I just kind of taken that mentality into adulthood too. Like, I come home and hang out with my wife and kids, but I go to the rink and I cross check and finish hits like every other defenseman. So I don't know. I just learned how to balance it at a young age. And yeah, sometimes I freak myself out when I get into that zone that you were talking about, but it's part of playing the game, man. Everyone has it. Everyone has it. So
you get back to the bench and you're like, what the hell did I just say to that guy?
Yeah, I have a lot of moments like that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I still remember, you meet I meet Steven and he's like just this nicest guy ever, and then we're playing a game and one guy pisses him off and he chirps him and he's just steaming. And you're like, holy shit, I didn't know Steven had this in him. This guy's scary.
Yeah, honestly, it was just, like I said, at a young age, that was just kind of how my dad said, like, hey, this is how you play the game. You compete as hard as anyone else on the ice, but before and after the game, you are a respectful young man. And I said, okay. And I've always just taken that advice to heart. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any secret formula for it.
Yeah. Steven, do you remember, did you see the news on Kirk, our boxing trainer from Ann Arbor?
Yes. I actually meant to send that to you. I came across it. Someone sent it to me, and I sent it to some of the boys. I was completely, well, I shouldn't say I was completely in shock, but it was interesting to see that article. He was kind of out of sight, out of mind, and I still tell stories about him to this day. But yeah, that guy was something else. Also, I'm sure you've heard, sure you've had run-in with program guys that have had some crazy stories.
Yeah, I mean, for the listeners who don't know, our boxing coach in Ann Arbor, his name is Kirk,
boxing
and he was
coach.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just lugging logs around and killing us, coach, basically. But yeah, I mean, this guy was just something else. Like Jordo says, coming off the top rope, like he's intense, and he always carried around this pistol with him because he was like a prison security guard or something. So he always had this pistol on him. Well, anyways, this article comes out a couple weeks or a month back, and he got in a little tussle in his front lawn. I think three kids tried to kind of rob him, and he ended up killing one of the kids. So
yeah, I don't mean to laugh.
There.
I'm just just reflecting on our teenage years with him. Is just kind of why I'm laughing. It all comes full circle. Whether he was whipping out the pistol or the Swiss Army knife and just scaring us to death as 16-year-old kids running laps in the rain around the Ann Arbor Ice Cube, So yeah, that guy was something else. But I think he actually did his job, as weirdly as it sounds. Like, he did his job pretty well, what they were trying to do.
I thought so as well. There's obviously critics of Kirk and what he did, and it was, thinking back on it and having this program, tell these parents, like, hey, we're gonna take your kids in, we're gonna take them away from home, and they're gonna be here living with us, and then they're also gonna be with this absolute lunatic carrying dogs around the woods and just fighting each other. Like, no, but don't worry, it's gonna be okay.
The hardest part about Kirk was like, looking back on it, like, you hear about guys that got concussions from like the boxing and like dislocated shoulders from the wrestling. That stuff was bad. But I mean, in terms of like just like the team bonding stuff, it's kind of like funny to look back on. And some of my best memories are like, he would pair up me and Goose, not knowing we were good buddies. and we would like kind of like look at each other like, all right, like we're not going to hurt each other, and we would just like pillow punch each other like when he wasn't looking, and just like pretend like we're like eating real punches, just trying to like make it look tough so we wouldn't get yelled at and have to do push-ups or run laps. And yeah, he was something else, man.
You guys have we used to call it locker boxing, but we didn't have like somebody watching over us. We'd just beat the hell out of each other.
No, we used to say, what was the thing he'd say? It was like no mutual alliances or something. He'd be like, no friends out here, like make your teammates better. So like me and Goose are like, oh, he's not looking, like put our arms down, like shake our arms out a little bit.
Your eyes are always on him, making sure if he's looking at you, you're doing some work. Yeah, I still remember
Mike McCarron, John Hayden trying to knock each other out.
They're trying to kill each other.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Oh, I still remember one time we knew we had Kirk after practice. So we get in the locker room and there's this 10 number sequence that we had to memorize, and he'd ask us mid workout, "What's the sequence?" And no one knew the fucking numbers. It was way too hard to memorize. We'd just end up doing push-ups and burpees the whole fucking time.
Some of his one-liners too were like out of this planet. Like we were getting bagged in like the mud, and he's like, "All right, I want you to count by threes," and I go 3. Goose says 6. Kevin the Bank goes 12. And we all like look at him, and Kirk's like, "Boy, you ain't no mathematician. Everybody hit the deck and give me 20." Pouring rain, cars are like driving by, honking at us.
I remember at 40 camp, we all had these. They threw out all of our shirts, our gray shirts that had your last name on them, and he's like, "All right, you guys got 5 seconds to grab your shirt." So everyone goes up and grabs their shirt, and we had this Alex Shaneborn from Minot, North Dakota. Chewy.
I played with him in Orlando.
Yeah, so he's there, and then there's a Schooneman on our team, and he still plays too. I think Steven. I don't know if you recognize that name, Corey Schooneman. He plays.
Was he in Laval?
Yeah, I think he was. Yes.
Yeah, we played him in a 7-game series this year. Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah. So, anyways, those two guys have just very similar last names, and they both put on the wrong shirt. So we get these shirts on, and Alex Schoenborn's like, Shuey's like, this isn't my name. Like, I have the wrong shirt. And Kirk's like, the fuck do you mean? The fuck do you mean that's not your name? You don't know your fucking last name? What are you, retarded?
Oh, he would say that word so much, and like we would just like cringe, and then we would just be like, "Oh man, come on. Don't say that word."
Oh man,
this guy sounds insane, boys. I would have never made it. So good for you guys.
Yeah, it
was
funny
different.
Thinking back, I mean, those are the best. Those are some of the best memories you have. As much as it sucked when you were there, like you're thankful that you had them for sure.
Kind of brings you together right away. Like you're all 16-year-old kids, and you're all so miserable away from home. Like, and you do stuff like that every day for 2 hours after school. It's just like it actually brings you together real quick.
For sure. So, Steven, I mean, was that, going to Ann Arbor, we always ask our guests, like, what's it like being away from home the first time? I mean, was that your first time living away from home and not being with the family, or had you already experienced that beforehand?
No, honestly, like I obviously traveled a lot for the youth hockey stuff. In terms of like I go to tournaments in Chicago and California and Florida, and I was like every other kid, like youth hockey player kind of did that. But I never really lived away. So I was the typical like egocentric New Yorker that was, the world revolves around New York. Like I'll never live outside New York. And I lived in Ann Arbor, and it was like a beautiful town. And I loved it. And it was the first time, but I think the building makes you grow up fast, and it actually prepares you for college really well.
For sure. So then obviously after Ann Arbor, you end up at BC. When did you make that decision to go to BC, and why Boston College over? I'm sure, obviously you're a good player growing up, so you probably had the pick of the litter there. So how do you land on BC?
I was fortunate. I had a bunch of schools recruiting me. Just kind of looked in the Northeast, didn't really want to go anywhere further from home. I committed pretty early on. I think it was towards the end of my freshman year of high school. I looked at a bunch of schools, and I don't know, BC just kind of felt right. I'm a really religious guy, and obviously it's a Catholic Jesuit school, so that was a big attraction for me. And going to school in Boston was obviously a big plus. So, like I said, my dad played at Maine, so that was probably the first school I really wanted to play for growing up. But at that time, they were kind of in a rebuild mode. The coaching situation was changing, and my dad really wanted me to go to Harvard. He always talked about Harvard growing up. I think he just wanted me to be like a smart, educated guy. But ultimately, I felt like BC just for me was on and off the ice just the best fit, and I was really happy I chose there.
Yeah, not a bad school to go play college hockey at, I'd say, with Boston College there. And your freshman year, was that the Johnny hockey team, or was that the year before we got there?
Yeah, my first year was the super team, the super line of Kevin Hayes, Billy Arnold, and Johnny Gaudreau.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the second assists, Johnny and Kev. You guys really helped me out there. But yeah, we had a wagon of a team. We had Thatcher Demko in net. We had Mike Matheson on the back end. We had Austin Cangelosi, who was a really good college player and junior player. I'm blanking on more names, but yeah, we had a really good team. It was fun to be a part of, and obviously we fell short to Union in that Final Four. It just couldn't pull it off, but
the Ghost was just too much to handle out there.
The Ghost. Yeah, I heard you and Fast talk about his performance in the finals, but it was the same way in the semis, man. Like, they had a power play, and it was like you knew he was going to score. Like, I don't even know. Like, he's running like the top of the QB on the 1-3-1, and we still know he's going to score. Like, how does that? Like, how do you even do that? So, yeah, that team was good. They had Daniel Carr too. They had a bunch of names of guys. So
yeah,
it was still to this day bothers me that we didn't get a natty in my 3 years there, but we had 2 Final Fours, which was fun.
Yeah, okay, so we'll kind of circle back. You get to campus, and I wanted to ask you, what it was like getting to campus, because I know, as good of friends as we were in Ann Arbor, when I'm going into college, like, my mindset's a little different. Like, I'm thinking, like, oh, I can't wait. Like, there's so many hot girls, and like, can't wait to like go to the parties. And I know Steven walking in there like, all right, that's where I'll be studying, that's where I'll be working out. Here's where I'm living. Like, all different mindsets. Like, what was it like arriving to campus and kind of adjusting to the college life?
Yeah, definitely agree with what you said there to preface that question. Probably had different mindsets. I know how you and Tomer were marching into Nodac's campus. Got to know you guys pretty well before you stepped on, and had heard some stories about Nodak before, and I know you guys were really excited for that rookie party before you stepped on. So, but for me, honestly, it was a pretty smooth transition. Like, I stepped into a good situation where I was going to play right away at school. We had a good team. We had a great group of guys. Had good roommates all my years I was there, and yeah, I mean, it was not that bad. Like, in terms of the classes were obviously hard, but they help you along. They do a great job they have like a student center there to help all the athletes. And honestly, if our team wasn't as good and I didn't like the guys and the coaches as much, maybe it would have been a hard transition. But for me, it was pretty smooth, man. I went there, wanted to get better, and I felt like I did that. So it was good. It was an easy transition.
And BC is, it's in Boston, but it's a little out of the city. Like, I know BU is just right in downtown almost. I think the BC kind of a little bit out of the city would cater to my needs a little more. I'd like that a little more, just because I feel like you got a little more room and privacy out there. But I don't know what it's like, because I know Boston College is a good football program and basketball program. So, like, what's it like? Is the hockey team kind of the alphas walking around, or what's it like being a hockey player on the campus of Boston College?
Yeah, I would say it's actually cool to have a bunch of different sports, to be honest with you. I think, in my opinion, hockey is probably the alpha sport, just given the success that we've had, consistently, maybe not the last few years, but when I was there leading up, national championships, Frozen Fours, a lot of bean pots, which I know for most of your listeners in Minnesota, North Dakota, who cares? But that's a big deal out here. So we had that going for us. And it was like when I went on my visit to BU, one of their selling points was like, well, BC has a football and a basketball team. It's like, okay, well, that's cool because I get to watch like Clemson and FSU and USC, and I get to watch like Duke and UNC, Syracuse basketball. Oh, that's actually like a cool point, like. So I liked it, and we supported the other athletes. Like we didn't have any beef with the other teams. It wasn't like a power struggle at all. But hockey is obviously a well-respected sport there, and like storming the field after they upset number 13 USC is still like a really cool memory for me. So I liked going to the football and basketball games. I was never a competition amongst the sports, I guess.
I can appreciate that because we didn't really get to do a whole lot of that. Like we went to, and I'm sure your schedule was busy too, obviously, but we didn't really get to go out or like even really had the desire to at times with how hockey was. So what was kind of like what was the buzz? I just feel like the game days up there were much different than a North Dakota game day and things like that. So like, what was like the energy around the whole thing?
Yeah. So obviously Goose and I actually played in a exhibition game with against Nodak with the program. So I kind of got a taste of what it was like. Tremendous rink and atmosphere, by the way, for playing a bunch of high school kids. I mean, I still tell people that's got to be one of the best in college hockey. So definitely respect that. But for us, our campus everything's pretty much on campus. Like it's a gated campus. Majority of the students all live there. So like on game day, there is kind of a buzz. Like, like if you go to like a Friday morning class or something, or like, you're like, you feel the energy, and they do pretty well. They pack the building. It's a pretty big building. It gets loud, and they got the band going and everything. So depending on who we're playing, obviously, if it's like Merrimack on a Tuesday night, we may not be packing the barn. But if you're playing like BU Northeastern on like a Friday, Saturday night, the place was always rocking. So I loved it. And I always say I would have played there 20 years if I could, just like you guys would have stayed in Nodak for 20 years if you could have.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, I mean, what's the treatment like and the life like playing hockey for BC? Because it's a little different for us. In the Midwest, we're all playing just 2-game series every weekend versus you guys are, like you mentioned, you're playing some games on Tuesdays, Thursdays, just because everything's so close. Like, how often are you hopping on the plane, or are you busing mainly every game?
Yeah, so I would say it's obviously not comparable with the volume, but it's a little bit more of like a pro style schedule in terms of the travel and when the games are. Like if you're in the American League, you're busing and whatnot. So we would usually do like 1 or 2 big trips in the beginning of the year, whether it be Michigan, Minnesota, Colorado, kind of like that first like October month. We do like 1 or 2 big trips, and everything else was mostly day trips. We'd play like Friday night at home against BU, and then Saturday night in Providence, or I think Maine and Vermont were our only like weekend road trips, and even that's only like 4 or 5 hours. So it was really nice, just limited travel, and I think it actually helps build the rivalries because everyone's right on top of each other. So that's kind of the best part about hockey East, I think, is just the teams are so close, and you have visiting fans, you have home fans, you have both bands. It kind of creates like a rowdy atmosphere for a lot of the games. I like it.
To build off this, like for us, we played Friday, Saturday against the same opponents. So we had the full week to practice, what our opponents were going to do for that weekend. You mentioned you play BU on Friday and then go play Providence on Saturday. How do you, what's the preparation like when you're playing 2 separate teams? What's the mindset? Because obviously if you lose that first night, it's against a different team. So it's like you don't get a second crack at them. So just the whole mindset of everything.
Yeah, it honestly, kind of like what I said, it kind of prepares you almost for like the American League, where you got to like turn the page quick. And we would do pre-scouts during the week. If you were playing the same team Friday, Saturday, which we did sometimes, you do like a home and home, say, you would obviously do like a lot more game planning and like on ice walkthroughs. But if you were playing 2 different teams, you would kind of prepare for the Friday night game and then just go play on the Saturday night game. You do like a walk in the morning, and that was pretty much it. You wouldn't wouldn't really overthink it. And kind of the way we played too was pretty offensive minded and pretty loose for the most part. So we didn't really do too much game planning. We had very smart coaches, but we didn't. They did not overcoach at all.
Yeah, that's good. And you mentioned the bean pot, and maybe some Midwesterners don't know. I know like the real college hockey fans that listen, they'll definitely know, because the bean pot is like one of the bigger tournaments that happens during the year. How much does that mean to you guys? Like, how important is it to play well at the bean pot, and how much do you guys want to win that throughout the year?
Yeah, so for people that don't know, the Bean Pot is it's a college hockey tournament in Boston. It's the 4 teams in kind of the greater Boston area. So you got BU, BC, Northeastern, Harvard, and it's a 4-team tournament, and it's always the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday. So it's the first 2 Mondays in February, and you rotate who you play in the first round every year. So, one year you play Northeastern, one year you play BU, one year you play Harvard. And then you have like a consolation game and then a championship the next week. And the town just eats it up for whatever reason. That like 8-9 day stretch, the town is just only talking about the bean pot. Like people in your classes, people like around the town. And it's very cool, but only people in Boston really care about it. And then it's like after it's over, like it's just kind of like, but like once you win it, we won it twice when I was there, and it's like, campus just like shuts down for 2 days. Basically, it's just kind of just enjoy it, and then like you party like Monday night, Tuesday, and then like somehow you play like Friday. You just gotta like figure it out. You turn the page, but it's I don't know. It's one of those things that just like once like February picks up, like everyone gets excited about it, and they just kind of like forget about it real quick too.
I kind of wish we did something like that, because the only tournaments that we did was like the Icebreaker Challenge, which is like the first game. We only did that 1 year, and then we have to wait till the conference tournament. So it's like I feel like it's kind of a blast from the past too. You grow up playing these tournaments, like it's kind of just like a fun atmosphere. So when you add just the whole city of Boston, for me, that's just like an exciting sports moment.
Yeah, it's great because you get to play it like the Bruins rink, the TD Garden. It's like, it's kind of like you feel like a pro, like it's sold out barn, like the bands, the fans, the kids, the students. It's really cool. And honestly, like you're saying, it's a great way to break up the grind of the season.
Yes.
Like you have that in February, and then it kind of like gets you excited. And then like, beginning, middle of March, you start like your conference tournament anyway. So it kind of gets you excited for like playoff hockey, I guess, and which is why guys like it.
For sure.
For sure. Yeah, and they do something similar to like that with the state of Minnesota, where they have, 4 of those Minnesota teams come in and play at the Mariucci, I think it is, and they play that tournament. It's nowhere near the bean pot and what they have going on there. Is there any like tradition that they have once you win that bean or the trophy? Like, is there anything that like special that you guys do with it, or is it just stay in the locker room until next year?
No, we obviously enjoy ourselves with it for a couple of weeks. You go to a bar and drink out of it. You bring it to like the hockey room and have a little party with it. And then, for the most part, I guess now that I think about it, like in the whole off season, it just sits in your locker room. Like it's yours for a year. And then come like the next January, you got to give it back and earn it back. So literally we just like sit there. We had like almost like a mail table, and it just like would just sit in the locker room, and everybody was like, "Oh, hey, like the bean pot." And then, one day it's not there. It's kind of funny now that you say that. I never even thought of it that way. You just, it just chills for 11 months in your locker room.
That's pretty cool. I like that stuff when they just trade off that same trophy. It's a lot of that, some of those football rivals in the Big Ten where they trade the jug or whatever with Minnesota and
the jug,
Wisconsin.
The axe. There's a bunch of little ones.
The big axe. Yeah, the Paul Bunyan axe. Yeah, that stuff's pretty cool. But anyways, so you end up playing 3 years at BC. How did you end up graduating? Because I know you're a pretty scholarly guy. You take your education seriously. Did you end up graduating quickly so you could leave after that 3rd year? What was the process like there?
Yeah, so the head coach now at BC, Greg Brown, the guy who just took over for Jerry, he was a tremendous mentor for me while I was there. He ran the D. He had a tremendous career, played in the Olympics, played in the NHL. So he was just a great influence on me. And he told me, he said, get organized so that you can leave early and still graduate early, because I know you're going to get married young, you're going to have kids, and you're not going to want to do this when you retire. And thank God he told me to do that, because I would not want to do this again when I retire. I totally know what he means. So I planned it as I was there. I would take a couple each summer. And I graduated on time and walked at my graduation, which was pretty cool. So it was kind of a pain in the butt in those off seasons. And then my first year pro, I actually did a class. I took some here in New York, and I kind of just made it work. But it was important to me to just get it done and have my diploma and not have it loom me, like, 2 or 3 classes looming over my head as I got older.
For sure.
I commend you for that, because we took summer classes so we could lighten our load during the year. So I think that's pretty cool that, you took those classes to, like, I'm going to graduate early because I have a plan. So that's pretty cool.
Goose try and cheat the system? No way.
Yeah, no.
Goose and Tom are trying to lighten the load during the year? Never.
We were not trying to grind during the season. We were thinking about hockey and hockey only.
It wasn't pretty, but I got done.
Before we move on from BC, I did want to ask about playing for Jerry York, obviously, because everyone who knows hockey knows the famous Jerry York. What was it like playing for him? And, could you tell you were kind of, in the presence of a legend, or was it just kind of, he was just another coach and just another good coach?
No, you knew right away, he has such a presence, and he's not intimidating at all. It's honestly like if you have like a grandpa coaching your team that everyone loves and respects, but he's also the smartest guy in the room. It's like the little things, he was always short hair, clean shaven. Everyone shows up on time. We wear suits everywhere. And he is the ultimate leader of people. I've never met someone that can, obviously he knew a lot about hockey, but he also had great assistants that helped him along, like I mentioned. The way he could command the room, and he would just teach us stuff about life. We would have these meetings every day, and we'd do, 5 or 10 minutes of video, and then he would just talk about life experiences and quotes and articles. And I learned so much about being a man and a parent and all that stuff, during those 3 years with him, as much as I did, in furthering my career as a hockey player. So I loved playing for him. I think anyone that played for him would say the same. He was a legend, and he deserves all the accolades and respect.
Yeah, I don't think you build the resume like he did if you're not like that. You have to be a real one to have that resume, or else it'll fall apart at some point. And it never really did fall apart for him. I mean, he kind of, went out on the top as well. He always had good teams every year in, year out. So it's always interesting hearing about a coach like that. But I guess we'll move on to, your career after college here. And like we said, you left after 3 years. Obviously, you went to New Jersey, so the Devils wanted you to leave after 3 years. What was that transition like? Did you feel confident going in? Were you scared? That first training camp, what are you thinking in those moments?
Mixed emotions. Obviously, you're confident in your abilities, but until you really prove yourself at the pro level, I guess there's always kind of that fear of the unknown a little bit. But at the same time, I felt like I was ready. I felt like I had gotten better and bigger, faster, stronger, smarter. Improved my game on the ice during my 3 years at school. So I felt like I was ready for the next challenge, and I'm glad I did it. It kind of all worked out, especially that first year. Going into your first camp, you're obviously nervous, but at the same time, I just knew I could only do the best I could, and the rest would just kind of take care of itself either way.
So when you went into that first training camp, were you you had your sights set on making the team, obviously, no ifs, ands, or buts, you're just trying to make the team. Is that what your mindset was like? Or did you know, I might be sent down here? I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of hard because everyone's kind of in a different situation. Some guys sign and they're there's eight defensemen ahead of me. At that time, I was pretty fortunate. I was in a good situation with New Jersey. They were in a bit of a rebuild. So I knew realistically I could come in and play and help them. So I just went into camp and was just going to grind and battle as hard as I could. That's probably the most burnt out I've ever been. One of the most burnt out. I didn't realize that like those 3 or 4 weeks, how much it was going to take out of me, like physically and emotionally, just because every day you're like so wired and like so dialed in. It takes so much mental energy. It's just why I think like young players struggle with consistency, because like you're so on the whole every skate, the whole 2 hours you're on the ice is like. So I did well, and I had a good camp. I actually made the team at a camp. And then I went down, played a bunch in Albany, and then came back for pretty much most of the year. So it kind of worked out. I kind of had like a traditional first year pro, but that first training camp, yeah, was definitely took a lot out of me.
What I don't know if we've touched on this, Gage, with some of the NHL guys, but so you come from Boston College. You said you guys were a bit offensive in your time at BC. Like, what was the pace like when you get in your first year in the NHL, compared to that college level? That's usually more defensive, at least in the WCHA and NCHC.
Yeah, well, transitioning to the Devils, which was a defensive system, as Goose can attest, that totally suited my style. It's probably a little out of my league with Johnny Gaudreau and Kevin Hayes flying down my wings. That's not really my game, getting up and down the ice as much as some other D-men. But honestly, the pace, obviously, yeah, guys are fast. Guys are stronger and faster, but I would just say it's just like the sharpness. Like every pass is perfect and everyone's thinking a step ahead of you. So even if you're a really good defender, that forward's just as good and it's probably played against defenders better than you. So it's just like fine-tuning your game a bit. I don't really know how else to explain it because there's a lot of fast and strong college players, but it's just like that poise to just hold on to it a quarter of a second and put it through your stick on the center's tape. Like I don't even know how else to explain it. That little baby sauce that you don't even know how that got over your stick. Like,
yeah,
all these little plays under pressure. It's that to me is the biggest difference between like, a good college player versus a very good NHL player. Just making those plays under pressure, and the game's got to flow a certain way in both ends of the rink.
The levels there are just so slim, like between, a really good American League player and a really good NHL player. Like in terms of skill and how they are as a player, it's not much difference. Like it's just that, like you said, like it's a centimeter. Like it's nothing you can really notice with your bare eye, but it's there. Like that's the difference, and that's the little like edge that you need, and that's why it's so important to, obviously when you're younger and you're growing up, like the details matter so much, like the little details, because what's going to separate you at the end is this much. So if you can just perfect all those little details and get that much, like you could make it. Like that's what matters. So it's pretty cool talking about that and hearing you talk about, just those little details. That's what separates people. But Steven, I forgot to mention when we were in Sochi, Russia, we're about to play the Canadian team, and I've told this story before, but we always the D-men always did these videos on like the other team's best players, and we always
I know where this is going.
You remember like
I know exactly where this is going. Keep going.
What's this guy's weakness? Like what can we do to stop this guy? And I remember, Andre Burakovsky played for Sweden, and our coach is like, this guy doesn't fucking pass. So you just, whenever he gets it, let's just send 2 guys at him and just defend him with 2 guys because he's not going to pass the puck. And that's what we did, and it worked. Well, Steven asked, like, we're watching video on McDavid, and Steven's like, what can we do to, slow this kid down? And our coach is like, looks at us and he's like, nothing. It's just like, there's nothing you can do. Just back off and just hope. You remember that?
I know exactly. I remember this like it was yesterday. So we're in Sochi, Russia, which is like, obviously the U18 tournament. It's, it's exciting. It's kind of a grind because we're in Russia and, we're playing all these games and we're doing our pre-scout meeting. We had a day off before the gold medal game, and all the D-men are in Don Granato's suite at, whatever hotel we're in. And he's doing the video, and me and Goose are kind of like, we're the shutdown guys. So we're like trying to get in on the defense. We don't care about the other end of the rink, right? Like we're just going to like shut down Nichushkin and Burakovsky and All right, McDavid's next. Let's go. Like, what's the game plan, Donnie? And so he shows this highlight reel. He doesn't show anything about any other player. He shows this highlight reel, right, Goose, of McDavid.
Yeah.
And it's like him, like, I mean, obviously he's an incredible player, right? But like a German defenseman that can't skate backwards, like falls down, goes in, like, you know, backhand, bar down, like all these like highlights against like some good players, some not so good players. And he's like, this guy, McDavid, he's Gretzky, he's Crosby. He's the greatest player. He's one of the greatest players I've ever seen. He's like getting like so emotional about how good he is. Me and Goose are like, no, we're gonna go kick this guy's ass tomorrow. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean he's Gretzky? Like, don't tell me that. Tell me how to solve, you know, like. So it's really funny, like looking back on it, but like in that moment, he was right. He wasn't wrong.
Oh, yeah, he saw it for sure, and we were just. I remember he said that, and usually he'd give us a way to like shut a guy down, and he said that, and we're like, Coach, come on, like you're deflating our head here. Like now we're scared. Like I don't want to play this guy.
We all didn't know like whether to like laugh or like start crying because tomorrow was going to be like a disaster. Like we didn't know how to like take the meeting. It was a really awkward thing.
Yeah.
But I still to this day I tell that story all the time.
This guy's going to single-handedly beat all of you. So good luck.
Yeah.
Basically, is
that's
what
he told us.
That was the scariest thing I've ever heard. I'm like, oh my God, we are done.
I'll never forget that. He's Gretzky. He's Crosby. We're like, what? Like, this kid's 2 years younger than us. What do you mean?
Is that even possible? Yeah. He's a cross
Kid
between
hasn't even hit puberty yet. What are you talking about?
Oh man, that was good.
Earlier, I was like thinking in my head, like if any Goose stories I had, if they kind of like came up organically. And the 2 or 3 I thought of were, do you remember when we were playing Chicago Steel and you got into a line brawl tied up with Nick DeVito and he had his jersey in your hands?
Yeah,
you remember
pulled
this?
my jersey full
Goose
off.
gets into a fight with this guy. The guy rips his full jersey off. He's like holding his jersey, looking at Goose, like they're looking at each other like, what do we do now? Like, is the fight over? Like, I'm like tied up with my guy, and I like look over, and the guy's like holding Goose's jersey, and everyone's like, oh, this is awkward.
That was the last guy. That was the last guy I wanted to look up and see. It was DeVito. I'm like, oh, fuck, this guy is gonna pummel me.
I thought of that one. I thought of when we would take the sleeper buses. So Goose and Tom when you take the sleeper buses, there's no windows, as you probably know from the USHLs. Yeah. And there used to be this place, Nick's Pancakes, right next to like our rink. And we'd get there at like 9 or 10, go out to breakfast, and then like catch the second half of school kind of thing. So one day, like you're like a zombie, like Goose and Tom are like putting their like, the sweatsuits, they're like the garbage bags on. They're like, everybody wake up. We're at Nick's. We're almost at the Cube, waking everybody up. So everyone's like getting dressed. And then someone's like, hey, it's 5 o'clock. We're in Indiana. What are you guys doing? Hey, fuck you guys. Fights breaking out on the sleeper bus at 5 in the morning. They just woke everybody up.
Telling everyone we're at Nick's. Everyone's getting ready. Like, fuck.
We're at Nick's. We're almost there. Get your shoes on. Breakfast on me.
Boys, we're at Nick's. Let's go.
And then the other one I was thinking of, honestly, the last one was, I don't know if you remember the semifinals in Sochi. We played like 25, 30 minutes. I think Goose like collapsed after the game. We had to like carry him into the locker room. He was like so dehydrated. He like collapsed on the bench after the game, like couldn't handle 30 minutes of ice time.
Oh fuck, we're eating
literally like
shit
me
food
me and Clinton Lewis are like carrying Goose back to the locker room.
Yeah. That was a hard fought win against Russia. That's when we met. That's when Putin dropped the puck for us. He was center ice.
Yeah. Yeah. I would still tell people that I was 10 feet away from the dictator.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Should have taken one for the boys.
Right? Take them down. Would have just been killed.
I was thinking of all the goofy stuff you and Tom used to do. You used to have the tape ball. Like you make a tape ball. So our second year, him and Tomer made this giant tape ball, and it had its own stall in the locker room. They had its own bag on the road. Like it was literally like a team pet, like this gigantic tape ball.
Steven, you
Like
remember
this is the stuff they used to
too?
do when we were in high school.
It doesn't surprise me one bit because it carried on to college. Every single
Oh
second
my
of
God.
it. It's great.
I can only
Dude.
imagine the two things these hooligans did in college.
Steven, you remember the battle axe for the D-man, the best D-man of the game?
Battle
You'd
axe,
shoot-
yeah.
You'd shoot the battle axe. I still have that at my house. My dad has it.
I was just gonna say, where is that thing still alive?
Oh yeah, it's got all our
Actually,
signatures on it.
You get a kick out of this. I was cleaning out my parents' house the other day. I found extra money in the fine fund that we didn't spend. Like all these singles and quarters. Because we used to do like singles and we didn't have any money, so it'd be like 25-cent fine, didn't fill my car up with gas or whatever. And like I still had a jug and it was fine fun with all the notes in it and there was some leftover money in it. I was like, oh man, I gotta send this to the boys.
That's unbelievable. Wow.
Oh,
We could have spent those on a little shaker at Tomer's billet.
yeah. A Qdoba burrito.
Yeah. Oh, we used to muck those Qdoba burritos, and then what was that burger place we'd go? The Bellas too?
The Bellas was the best. Olson, this guy used to eat two burritos at Qdoba. Who does that?
Yeah,
You get like a burrito and chips. This guy used to get 2 burritos.
just so you know, this guy didn't change one bit in college from these stories.
I love that.
This is perfect. Gage used to walk into the locker room at school and he'd just think of the most controversial topic and he'd just throw it out there and then he'd just listen to everybody else bicker about God knows what.
I love that.
Just start fights.
I love
Oh,
that.
that's great.
Oh my God. It's so funny, man. Oh, those two cracked. Honestly, you and Tomer were like the comedic relief we needed. Because like the first year is so miserable and then the second year is like a little bit tense because it's like everyone's draft year. I don't really know how else to explain it. Like you have a lot more fun, but like it's obviously like it's a little more, you know what I mean? Like it's a little more tense. So, like to have you two as goofballs, like honestly, like made the experience so much more fun, I think.
I remember Donnie
you
G
guys
had
and AIDS.
Yeah, I remember our exit video or interview with Donnie G. He told Tomer and I the same thing. He's like, you guys are going to North Dakota, just
I remember this.
Stay focused. You're there to play hockey. Like, I know you're having fun. We're like, yeah, don't worry
I
about
remember
us.
you telling me that.
Don't worry about us.
I don't think
Donnie.
it worked.
We'll be all right. No, it didn't.
You know what though? He was such a great coach, man. Like not only just like working with like us at that age in our development, but like he taught us so many lessons about like what it's like to be a pro and stuff that I didn't even realize, but he was right about everything. I loved playing for him. I'm so happy when he got the Buffalo job. Yeah,
I was too. He's an unbelievable guy. I love that guy. I wish I could talk to him because he's just a great dude. Like he's almost like a little bit. He's got a little Jerry York in him. Like he would teach us shit about like real life. Like say like half hockey, half real life shit. Like it was one of his best speeches. Was like you either like being a hockey player or you like playing hockey. Like it's one or the other. And you're never going to be that good if you just like being a hockey player. You got to like playing hockey too.
Yeah, no, and he was right. And like some of that stuff, like, I don't even know if you remember this, but he showed us like a Detroit Red Wings, like depth chart and was like, okay, if you're a forward, you need to learn to be a fourth liner. And then 5 years later, when this guy retires, you can be a first liner. And like, he was 100% right. Like to break into the league, you have to do the little things and then you can get your opportunity to be like the big gun. So it's like so many things like that you didn't even like probably went in one ear out the other at that age, but he was right about everything.
That is a crazy thing to think about. We've discussed that before on a show, but like the 0.1% of hockey players play in the NHL. What's the roster size? 24 spots for 30 teams. Like that's nothing.
Yeah, and how many guys on that team are there for 10 years? And no one's taking their spot.
Yeah, and that's not even counting the guys that are getting drafted that year. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was saying, Greg Brown, my coach at BC, used to be like, playing in the NHL is a great job. A lot of people want it. And a lot of people will do anything to keep that job as long as they can because they make a lot of money and, they work 2 or 3 hours a day and they make a lot of money. And now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, yeah, he was right. It was a pretty good job.
You end up playing in New Jersey and then Albany and Binghamton, how close was New Jersey? It had to have been pretty close to where you grew up because it's, right in New York. So like that had to have been a pretty cool spot to play just with family around the area and stuff. So what was that like, with your dad obviously building a hockey rink and then all of a sudden his son's playing right across town in the NHL?
Yeah, like I kind of mentioned earlier, I grew up a huge Rangers fan. Everyone in this kind of area kind of is. And then I got drafted to the Devils, which is the rival team. So, I mean, it was still really cool. Like it's probably an hour, a little over an hour from where I grew up. So, yeah, just to be close to home and especially those early years of my pro career, to be an hour from home and not, all the way on the West Coast or something. It was definitely made the transition easier for me. I was either, home, Albany, Binghamton, New Jersey. It was all within like a 3-hour radius. So I was really spoiled. And now that I'm bouncing around a bunch of different places, and I kind of miss how central everything was back then for sure.
And it's stable. It's it's a stabler life where now you got to move and change, your routine,
Yep.
your lifestyle, whether, that's just, to me, that just added weight.
Yeah, honestly, when it was just me and my wife, it wasn't that bad. We could just pack up and go to Binghamton or pack up and go to Albany, whatever. But now with 2 kids, it's like, why don't you just stay here for training camp? I'll go out to St. Louis. You know what I mean? So it's it definitely changes the way you approach like life and kind of like traveling. So I certainly miss them when we're in situations that they can't come with me. But that's just how it goes. That's the life I chose, I guess.
Yeah, and I wanted to get into that too because I think you are probably the first player we've had on here who's still playing and has kids now. What's that like? You grow up your whole life playing hockey, and you've got a girlfriend, but you don't have kids, and now all of a sudden you're still playing hockey, still traveling. Now you've got 2 kids. Is that easy? Or that's got to be it. To me, it sounds impossible almost, but it's got to give you you got to be a little more excited to go home after the rink, right? Because you get to see the little kids, and it gives you something to do during the day.
Yeah, honestly, someone told me before our son was born. They said the days are long, but the years are short, and it's so true. Like the days feel so long, and it's like borderline stressful at times. But then, like you're like, oh man, my son just turned 3. This is crazy. Like I remember when you were just born. So it's kind of consumes your day, and you find yourself just wanting to talk about them all day with other people because that's what you do all day is you just take care of them and spend time with them. But it definitely has changed my perspective in terms of obviously I still work very hard and take my job very seriously and I care a lot. But, when I come home, I don't need to stretch 7 days a week. If I stretch, 2 or 3 times a week, it's going to be just as good. I spend a lot of time with them and you're just not thinking about the game all day. Like I remember my first year pro, like I had just gotten engaged. I wasn't married yet. And I was just like, every day I would just be like thinking like about hockey all day. And like I was saying about my first training camp, it burns you out. Whereas like now it's like, I come home, my son has no idea if we won or lost and just wants like a piggyback and like, run around the backyard. So it's cool. It's really cool. And it kind of helped me look at the game with like through a different lens, I guess.
Yeah, you probably enjoy going to the rink a little more too, just because you're so busy at home. It's almost like you go to the rink and it's just, almost relaxing getting to the rink.
Yeah, it is. And it's funny, like even like in the summer, like I'll go and do my workout and come back and I can tell right away, like how the kids were when I was gone. My wife, I can tell her mood. Were they a little on edge or were they behaving well and everyone's in a good mood? So it's kind of funny, like, you have the good days and the bad days. But honestly, my wife is a saint and she holds this family together for sure. And she's the best. So she takes great care of them whenever I'm not around.
Do you and your wife play good cop, bad cop? And if so, who's usually the bad parent and who's usually the parent?
Yeah, not to throw her under the bus. I'm probably the fun parent, if I'm going to be honest, only because like you have to think about it though. Like my wife has been with my son pretty much every day of his life, and like I've been here and there, and I travel for hockey and I do this and that, and I've spent significant periods away from them at different times, whatever, COVID, blah blah. So she's just kind of been the constant, whereas like maybe I come in for a day or two and then leave, and I can be a little rowdy with my son, and so I'm probably the fun parent, but she's like I said, she's great, and she actually knows kind of where to draw the line with him. He's kind of at a wise guy stage right now, but I am definitely the good cop. She's the bad cop, unfortunately for her.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you've ever had to lay down the hammer with Chase, just because I know how polished you were when you were a kid in Ann Arbor, so I know your dad had to have set you straight a few times.
Yeah, there's been some times where he's thrown things around his sister that might be dangerous, and I might get a little upset. But for the most part, he's pretty well behaved. I haven't really had to do anything too crazy, other than maybe like yell at him or send him to his room. Yeah, it's we haven't had too many problems, but he's also only 3, so his formative years are yet to come, I think.
For sure. Yeah, Steven, I wanted to ask too, because we always go over, like, we have a lot of has-beens on here because it is called the has-beens. So it's a lot of guys who are done playing. And, one of the toughest parts is transitioning from a hockey player into the real world. Is that something you've thought about or given thought to? Obviously you've got plenty of years left in your career. You're still pretty young, but it's like you said, the years go by quick. It's coming quicker than you think. Have you given that thought at all? And what are you doing anything right now to build towards that, or?
I wish I was doing more to build towards it, to be honest. I know some guys start companies and stuff while they're still playing. Like I said when I was on earlier, my whole life I envisioned myself being a hockey player. So even like through high school and college and like my first couple of years pro, it was just like very hard for me to wrap my head around it. But for some reason, like after kind of like when my son was born and like things kind of went south with Nashville, I kind of like started to turn my brain a little bit and kind of think about what I want to do. So I don't really have like a concrete plan, but I have a business degree. As Ben Lovejoy used to tell me, I now have a PhD in hockey because I made it to the NHL. So I don't know. I would be open to coaching, I think, college just because of the schedule and you can work more on like development. Whereas like coaching pro is a grind. There's a lot of travel.
Yeah.
And, I wouldn't want that for my family because the turnover, as you guys know, it's the same with players. Every 3 or 4 years, you got to go to a new team. It's a lot of games. It's stressful. So I'd want much more stability for my family. I'd love to coach college, maybe do like player development with the team. I'd love to get into like the management aspect and kind of combine the hockey and the business. So I've got a couple things that I think about, but I don't have any sort of concrete plan or I haven't done any internships or anything like that.
A question I like to ask is when did you realize hockey wasn't so much? Well, it's a sport, but there's also the business side to it. Like, was there a specific moment where it was like, okay, this isn't really like for fun anymore? I'm kind of playing for the game, myself, my teammates, just the whole mindset behind that.
Yeah, I would probably say my first year pro was pretty smooth, right? Like I said, I had a good training camp, started the year in the minors, finished the year in the NHL, and it was kind of like that was how I envisioned the year going anyway. Like there was no like major heartbreaks or anything. And the next year I made the team in New Jersey again, my second year. And I was a big part of that team. I was, playing big minutes. I had, over 20 minutes a game, one game against Tampa at home. I was playing like top pair with Andy Green. I felt like I was really like coming into my game and I was reaching like a higher level and I was having so much fun. And then next thing you know, Adam Henrique for Sammy Vatanen trade happens. I go from, first pair to Andy Green to my name's not on the whiteboard anymore. And that was really the first moment for me where I was like, wow, I'm just a name. Like, this is just a business. Like, it no longer became like a fairy tale and a dream. I'm not saying that for like pity or sympathy, because that happens to, as you guys know, every player at some point. Yep. But that was like the first moment for me. I was like, wow, like this is really hard, and this is not like. And then I end up getting sent down a couple of weeks later. So that was like really the turning point for me. And then ever since then, I've just been like, oh, you're gonna wave me? Okay.
Yeah.
You kind of just like become numb to the business side. Like, oh yeah, okay, I saw that coming. I know the depth chart. Like, you're not as emotionally attached, I guess. It's just like you work your bag off and do the best you can. But like some suits making the decision. So like I'm gonna make it as hard for you as I can, but I can't force you to do anything either way. I can't force you to pay me. I can't force you to play me. I can't force you to put me in a certain lineup spot. But I'm sure as heck gonna try my best, and we'll see what happens. That's kind of more the approach has changed as I've gotten older.
Yeah, and I wouldn't expect you to have any other perspective on that either, just because you're a pretty level-headed guy and think pretty logically as well. So, I mean, that's probably the best way you can handle those situations. You know, it's out of my control, and whatever happens. I'll do my part, and if someone else wants to make a decision, that's fine. But so, Steven, have you talked with Hades or anyone from the Ann Arbor team recently? Like, hey, do you see any of those guys?
Yeah, so I see Hades every day. We work out together at our gym here in Connecticut. See him all the time.
Is he still a meathead?
He is still a meathead, but yeah, he's a meathead. Yeah, he's a meathead. But you know, John, he's the nicest guy. He's great. He was a groomsman at my wedding. He's going to be there for the baptism of our daughter in a couple of weeks. So he's basically like family to me. He's like a brother. Him and his girlfriend Lauren are going to come over for dinner in a couple of weeks. So talked to Hades a lot. I talked to JT after he won the cup. He was my old billet neighbor. Played with Butch in New Jersey for a couple of years.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I played against Tomer a bunch when he was in Iowa and I was in Milwaukee. I'm trying to think. Dems, obviously Demmer I still talk to. Scotty I still talk to.
Is there anything, Steven, crazier than Kevin LeBanc coming out of Ann Arbor and just lighting up the National League? Like who could have seen that
it's
coming?
Crazy.
Like, this guy was like slept, he like took like 8 5-hour naps midday and like just really didn't like, he hung out with us but didn't like talk to anyone, and like no one could have ever seen this guy being as good as he is, and then he just goes to the OHL, lights up the OHL, and then all of a sudden he's in an NHL, you know, almost a point per game guy. Like it's insane.
And he's in San Jose, right?
Yeah.
So I was actually telling a kid on our team who played in Barrie after Banker did in the OHL, and he was asking me about Kevin LeBanc, and I was like, man, if you would have told me like this guy would be lighting it up the way he did, I wouldn't have believed you. And the only reason I say that is like on that team, you know, he was probably like our 12th or 13th forward goose. Like he wasn't like a big, like vital part of our team. But with that being said, like you could see his skill set. Like he had that highlight reel goal against Dubuque in the shootout. He like you could see it in practice, and like he was so like nonchalant. It was almost like no one took him seriously, but like you could see how talented he was. And then he went to the OHL, and like I think he lit it up as an overager and was like overage player of the year or something. And the next thing you know, he's playing with Joe Thornton and Joe Pavelski. And he's like, well, how did that happen? In the course of like 4 years, you went from like almost healthy scratch at the program, which like doesn't happen, to like playing online with those guys. So I'm really happy for him. It's kind of a cool story, but no, I would have never, ever, ever guessed that.
Yeah, no, that's just a crazy, crazy path for that guy. And it obviously, like, like you said, you're just pumped for a guy like that. Like, he was liked by everyone. He's just a little different.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, and just couldn't have seen that coming. But, well, Steven, you'll have to say hi to Hades for me. I haven't talked to him in a while, but you have to, maybe pat him on the back. Fash was telling me he was big in the crypto, and I know crypto took a dip in the past couple of months here. So, just
oh man. I didn't know that.
You just make sure he's doing okay. Just tell him, it'll bounce right back up, and that goose says hi from me.
I'll check his wallet tomorrow when I go in. I'll see if there's still anything in there.
Yeah, you haven't had to buy him lunch recently?
No, he hasn't been bumming me. I don't know. Market's down, crypto's down.
Yeah, well, Steven, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate having you here, and thanks for giving us the time, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Love the podcast. Love what you guys are doing. So it was a pleasure. Hope to be on soon.
Thanks, Steven. Have a good one, man. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Thank you.
Around